Welcome back to another episode of Market Markup. This is Lance, co-founder of BH Capital Enterprises, where I teach people how to navigate the markets, mainly focusing on price action. And then even more specific than that, technical analysis, or not technical analysis, but charts. So being able to visualize price action. So what I've been doing for the month of July is challenging myself to do a breakdown of one chart every day for this month. And today is day 5 of my 30-day challenge. This one is another special request. Shout out to the brother David W. Williams over there at highest paid part-time job in the world, where his focus over there is mainly options. But he asked me to take a look at Nvidia, so that's what I'm going to do in this video. If you have not done so already, please like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever you feel compelled to do, especially if you're new to this channel and if you are a return viewer or visitor, welcome back. I appreciate you guys. But yeah, so Nvidia is a company that I used to follow pretty closely. And then I had just a quick story. Um, Day trading one day and saw a signal for some puts on Nvidia, and so I grabbed some puts, and Nvidia had a pretty nice drop, pretty decent drop for considering the time period that I was looking at being in the trade, which was only maybe a few minutes. And so Nvidia dropped like 6 to 10 points during that time, and I only profited $25 in the trade. And I mean, my entry could not have been better. My exit was dope. And because of all the volatility during that trade, so Nvidia would drop 2 points, then it would retrace like half a point to a point, and it just kept doing this up and down thing on the way down. And so that really, for me, that was the last straw in trading Nvidia. So I kicked it off my watch list, and I no longer watch or hardly think about Nvidia anymore. And that's a sad thing because with this whole share split news, I missed out on just an amazing opportunity to make some money. But yeah, it's all good. It happens. But I'll be sure to look out for splits in the future. But anyway, so checking out the yearly chart here on Nvidia, and you can see, man, this thing just consolidated for several years before it finally started to take off. And I'm just going to mark a few uh, important price levels that I'm seeing. And I'm seeing some demand down here in the 120s. So let's do my little customary uh, markup here. Um, Okay, so it's historical demand yearly. We're going to show that on the right. Do my dotted line. I'm going to make this white and then double the width on it. And boom. All right, so there. Also seeing some demand right here in this 238 area. And I'm not necessarily going to name this one, but I'm just going to label it appropriately to coincide with my other yearly levels. And then right up in here in this 523 area up to about 589. So definitely going to mark 2020 closing price, which is 522.20. And as you can see, the price action has been strong above that level. 522. And we'll do 2020 close. All right, so on the yearly chart, obviously it's in stage 2 or phase 2 of the market cycle. spent a lot of time in phase one over here, and then finally once it broke this $42, $43 area, that's when it entered phase two, which is markup of the market cycle. So very strong move, and I mean it's been moving since 2016. So over the last 5 years, Nvidia has been roughly on this strong bullish trend. Only during 2018 did it have a bearish year, but other than that, strong bullishness. Um, so these would be some levels that I'd be watching on as far as the yearly chart is concerned, and I'd also, watch this. I'm gonna mark this one as well. We're gonna call this one 2020 high, which was 589.07. Yeah, 589.07. Okay, so 2020 high. Show on right. Oh shoot. Show on the right. There we go. Okay, so got my levels here. As far as my yearly chart is concerned, not really seeing, much else in terms of any patterns or anything like that. So just seeing, the phase two of the market cycle. So let's move on. After I get my screenshot, let's move on to the monthly chart. See how the monthly chart is looking. All right, so monthly chart, you can get a better picture of that this area that I identified here in this on the yearly chart. Nice bounce down here off this historical demand, and I mean it's just been pushing and booking since then. Got something kind of sort of. Let's see. Whip out my little trend line here. So I mean we could measure it from here, maybe. And measure here. Okay, let's see. Based on the monthly chart. Okay. Just doing a little calculating here, so if I get quiet, that's what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so one of our targets is based on a monthly chart. And I think I'm just gonna do a actually I'm gonna do a price level, because in that way it'll mark it and it'll stay there, even though I can't necessarily see it. Okay, so actually I don't want that to be my default, but that's what it's gonna do. So we're gonna go back here, and I'm gonna label this one bull pin at target 1. So about 842 ish is where I'm forecasting for that first target on the monthly chart. Okay. Okay, we'll just take that off here. Okay. Show on the right. Okay. So that's going to be our first target. And then my second target, let's see here. All right, so let's do some more math. All right, so we're gonna do another price target, and I'm just gonna put it here because I can't see up that far. So second target on the monthly chart is about 950. All right, so open target 2 monthly. And we're going to double that one and boom. So you can't see it on the chart here, but as the price goes up, it'll come into view, or it should come into view. So that's that. Okay, so that's that. So far, that's what I'm seeing on the monthly chart. Now, keep in mind that this could happen prior to or sooner than one would think, based on the fact that we're looking at the monthly chart, simply because Nvidia has this very bullish narrative behind it, where uh, people are piling in for this split, right? So the split is happening toward the end of this month, I think the 20th. Yeah, so 7/20. And then I think it takes effect early August or something like that. Something like that. The dates may not be completely accurate, but somewhere in that time frame. So there's potential for Nvidia to keep running up until, late June, early August. But so keep that in mind. So these levels could be hit prior to 1 month from now. So those are two levels that I'll be watching over the near future. That 840s and that 950s area. Um, we're gonna see what this weekly chart says, and then go from there. But that's yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing here on Nvidia. And let's go. Let's see what the weekly chart is looking like currently. And I'm gonna delete my trend lines where I drew the pattern, just so it's easier to follow. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna delete these. Actually, I can remove them all since the rest of those are price levels. Okay. All right, so once Nvidia bounced from this area, it made a strong run up to the 520s, and it consolidated there for several weeks before it finally broke out recently, really, just a few months ago. So as far as the weekly chart is concerned, I'm not necessarily seeing much, except it's in phase 2 of the market cycle currently. It's starting to get toward that bull pennant monthly target area. So I'd look for, maybe some consolidation, maybe a little consolidation there, but things don't necessarily behave that way when there's such a catalyst as this one. um, let's see. let me add a momentum study onto here. And see how that's looking. All right, so MACD is pretty strong right now. I'm gonna make note of this area here as it has entered into some a critical level here, pretty much for MACD. So I'm actually going to make note of that using a text note here. Okay. So we're going to, and I want to make this white and a little bigger so it stands out a little more. Make it bold. Okay, there we go. All right, so critical historical level here on MACD. So, you know, watch it in this 63 to 65 area for sure. But I mean, momentum, as you can see, is getting stronger and stronger and stronger as the weeks go by. And, you know, that could very well continue, you know, over the next few weeks as the split actually happens. I'm not even gonna say that there's certainly a possibility for Nvidia to get to 950 prior to the 20th. There's definitely a possibility. Let's see. Okay, let me do a little more math here. Do a little more math. Okay, here's my calculator. Okay. So another level to watch. Once it gets that 842, I'd watch that 880s to 890s area, heading up to 900, and then that 950 target comes into play, which is target 2. Let's see what the daily chart is saying in just a second. In that though, this weekly, the MACD on the weekly chart is going to need to keep pushing above this critical level that I identify right here, about 61 and a half. Right now it's at 63 and some change, but it's going to have to keep going for sure. But you can see here on the weekly chart, when it hits this area, it tends to turn down. So, but this time it's got a pretty strong catalyst supporting it. So maybe it rises above this area, but watch it first as it gets toward 842. See what happens there. Let's see, take a screenshot here, and let's Let's look at the daily chart. I'm gonna do a 1 year starting off. See, MACD is kind of starting to get weaker here on the daily chart, so maybe, you know, we may see a little consolidation for, you know, a few days as we get closer to the end of the month, as we get closer to that split date. So don't get caught up in that for sure. Let's see where the 50 and the 200 are right now. Okay, so trading well above those areas. It's got let's see, do a little drawing here. Actually, I'm gonna take these off now because they're kind of not necessarily irrelevant, but not super important to me at this point. Nice little rising wedge there. Okay. I can't even. Okay. So, this a little smaller. Okay, so we got a rising wedge here, which can be, is usually a bearish pattern, but it can be bullish. Usually when you get a breakout of a rising wedge and a breakout means bullish, a bullish move, it typically precipitates a very strong move, which could very well happen. What I would personally like to see is I'd like to see Nvidia pull back a little bit, and then continue on the upward move. So not ruling that out as a possibility. It could happen, but I'm also not ruling out the possibility of Nvidia just breaking out above this upper trend line and continuing on to those next key levels that I've drawn on this chart here, on the previous time frames. So I pay very close attention to this development. As you can see, the volatility has decreased since, you know, recently. So volatility has gone down a little bit. So maybe some increase in volatility is coming very soon. But you know, we should see sometime this week, I would assume. Sometime this week, we should see either a breakdown from this pattern or a breakout of this pattern. But either way, I'd be watching, and actually, I'm just going to, I'm gonna take a screenshot of this first, and then I'm going to go down to like a 1 month chart here, so I can identify some shorter levels on this daily chart. Let's see here. We're going to extend this up a little bit, and we're going to extend this one up a little bit also. Okay. All right. So, like I said, we should see something. What's Friday? Tomorrow's the 6th, 7th is Wednesday, 8th, 9th. By the 9th. So sometime between tomorrow and I would say next Tuesday, we should see Nvidia move either downward from this pattern or continue kind of upward from this pattern, which it does have more room to go. Um, but I'd be watching this, and this probably lines up close to that monthly target, the first target that I mentioned. But in the interest of the fact that I can't go beyond here, we'll draw a couple of levels down here. So tomorrow, which is the 6th, let me get my price levels here. I'd be watching this 530s area. So we'll do that. And I'm just going to turn this back orange, double it. Okay, we're going to show that on the right. Okay. And then as far as probably about this 810 area. So anywhere from 810 to about 808, really down to 800 is an area that I would watch. But I'm just gonna to start with the top side of it, which is around, around 811-ish. Show that on the right. Hit okay. So yeah, what I if I were bullish, and of course this isn't any type of investment advice or anything like that, but if I were bullish on Nvidia, what I would like to see is I prefer to see Nvidia kind of come out of this thing bearish or maybe even consolidate. But I would prefer for it to drop down to maybe 800, maybe even about 7 below 800, and maybe on down to uh, maybe on down to like 775, somewhere in there, um, before it takes off in a strong way again. But for I feel like that would be kind of worst case scenario. But I think that would be the healthiest bullish move, or more sustainable bullish move on this stock short term. So that doesn't necessarily have to happen. It may not even happen, but just something to consider. And um, I'm just gonna mark that area just so I can have that visual reminder that, hey, this is where I'd like to see it pull back. And this 770s area would be worst case scenario in my opinion. But I'd be happy with a pullback to 780s, maybe low 790s, somewhere in there. But so possible pullback area. We're gonna show it on the right. Double that and change our color to orange and hit OK. But like I said, ideally I'd like to see it down here in the 790s to 780s area. But let me calculate some um, pullback areas while I'm at it. Okay, all right. So actually, that we're just gonna move this up, and we're going to, since it's so close to the 5% pullback, I'm just gonna change that one. 5% pullback. So that's pretty significant. And I'm also gonna do a eight and a half, not eight and a half, 2.5%, and see where that takes us. All right, so yeah, 7.99. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that as well. So anywhere in there is cool with me. That for me, if I were looking to position, I would prefer to get in at any of these places. Okay, just double this one. Okay, forgot to. All right, so basically the upper trend line and the lower and the bottom trend line, pretty much I'd be watching this to see if Nvidia possibly starts to consolidate um, this week. And then as far as these two levels are concerned, these are the levels that I would personally like to see Nvidia kind of pull back to before it continues onward and upward, as we get closer to this 720 date. Um, just the hypothesis, I'll be watching to see how it plays out. But Nvidia, in my opinion, definitely has the potential to go above 840 and on to 950 plus, at least 900, and possibly over 950, heading into this split. And that split, once that split happens, it tends to be like a sell the news type of event. So think about Apple back in 2020, where Apple consolidated for the longest of time. It dipped and consolidated for the longest of time. It was range bound until recently when it started to break out again, and head back to those all-time highs. Not sure that Apple has hit its or got back to the all-time high, but I think it's pretty close. Um, so yeah. Um, what else with this one? Let me take a screenshot. Let me see if there's anything else that I can possibly see here. Not really. Not really. Um, looks like it's also trading. Let me do a 3 month. 3 month, yeah. So there's some clear resistance within the wedge pattern. So if we start here, yeah, there's also a channel going on in here. Yeah, so um, definitely, definitely be watching these areas. So you know, one thing about me when I draw a level, I tend to just imply or infer a plus or minus 5 points in either direction. So if I say, 7.99, for me that also includes maybe down from anywhere from like 7.85 down to like 7.75. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind with these levels and these ranges. Don't necessarily be like, oh, I'm looking for it to hit 779.19. No, not at all. Um, and that's I used to do that, back when I was completely new to learning price action and learning charts, but I definitely don't do that anymore. Um, and I don't, and I instruct people to not do that. So, people who study with me, they, tend to uh, adopt the same type of mentality when it comes to identifying key levels. So yeah, um, just in my humble opinion, Nvidia definitely has the possibility to get over 900 in the next couple of weeks. Um, sometime this month, early on into and maybe on into early next month, possibly. Um, but it also has the possibility to do some other things before that happens. And don't discount consolidation, and then don't discount a possible bear trap. In which sense I would see if it pulls back about 2.5 to 5% before continuing on. So if it does that, these are some levels that I would just be watching, really. And so that's pretty much all I have. If you guys want me to do any other markups, feel free to leave a ticker in the comments. Hit me up on social media. I'll put my information in the description box of the video. Please, if you feel compelled to do so, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you in tomorrow's episode of Market Markups for the 30-day challenge.